KVK is finally over. Thank God. I'm very tired. I slept like 10 hours last night and 10 hours on Friday as well. So you can see we completely control Kingsland now. This is 1093. This is our other allied camp, 1473, 1814, and 2941. And this is us 960 at the right. So we've completely controlled Kingsland. We pushed everyone out. And yeah, this is it. KVK is over. It was pretty fun. There were times where it felt pretty slow though, mainly in the last zone. But this definitely was shorter than I expected. Kingsland only lasted a day, and then the second day was just free burning for the most part. So yeah, it's over. I think our allies performed really well. And obviously I want to talk about the KVK data so far, because honestly 1093 and our allies did very, very well against the enemies. I honestly thought we had a pretty strong enemy, but they didn't perform as well as I expected, or maybe our allies just overperformed. So we're going to look at the KVK data as well as the feature of 2377 based on the recent kingdom mails. So I'm sure everyone's curious how each of the camps or like kingdoms did in this KVK. This is one of the sites which our leadership provided to us to sort of see the stats. You can also use pro kingdoms, but I think this site gives it a little nicer interface. You can also see the individual stats below. We're going to look at the stats by kingdom first. So you can see 960 obviously right here. Highest KP. This is T4 kills, T5 kills, deads, units healed. And I guess this is like the points or the DKP points. This points I guess is probably not super relevant. But yeah, obviously the KP is quite huge. 772 billion. If you actually look at here, if you look at the total list of kingdoms in the game, the highest AC kingdoms, only like 40 kingdoms have more than the KP we earned or we got this KVK. So 772 billion is a very, very significant amount. So 2377 also did very well, 728 billion. It's pretty similar amounts. They did take more deaths and more heals as well. So, I mean, 77 did fight very well this KVK, much respect to them. Obviously I think 960 is just obviously the strongest kingdom in the game at the moment. That's just how it is. 1093's performance was very, very solid as well. I'm sorry, I misread 1093. I thought they were not as good as this, so that's why the thumbnail, I'm sorry, 1093. I honestly thought because 1093 has two alliances now, they're sort of weaker than before, but it looks like they still had a very solid performance. If you look at the sort of brackets right here, 1093 is obviously 93T. I thought it was like their main alliance, and then they have 1093X or 93X, which is like their second alliance. I honestly thought 93X would be a sort of limiter for them. This KVK would be they would hold them back, but they honestly did very well. So I'm very surprised by 1093's performance. Very high KP as well, 516 billion kill points, T4, T5 kills, deads. Pretty decent amount of deads, not as much as 1365, just because 1365 is, you know, crazy amount of farms, but decent amount of deads. There are two alliance kingdom right now. In their peak, I think 1093 was a 3.5 alliance or 3 alliance kingdom, maybe even 4, but I think 3.5 is a closer number. And yeah, all that other stuff. Looking at 606 camp, the 606 camp is 606 or 1606 and 2975. This camp did not perform as good as I expected, but maybe it's just that 1093 performed a lot better than I expected. But looking at the numbers, I mean, looking at 606 alone, it looks like 1093 did almost double their kill points, which is pretty surprising to me. I mean, if you look at the numbers, look at 606's main alliance, there are 2 trillion kill points, right? Obviously, 1093's 2 alliances, you can sort of see them split up here, 93X and 93T. But I honestly thought that 93X was mainly the free-to-play and low spenders in this alliance, and 1093 is where they kept all their whales. But I mean, 1093 did perform very well. Actually, if you look at pro kingdoms and sort of see, you can filter by 1093's players and then scroll all the way down. You can see how many players actually got to like more than 1 or 2 billion kill points, and it's quite a lot actually. I'm surprised. I was actually looking at it earlier. You can sort of see that up to, how many players got over 1 billion kill points? Quite a few. 200 players got over 1 billion kill points, 1 billion KP in 1093. So that is a very impressive amount. That means they did show up and all their players performed pretty well if they have 200 players getting 1 billion KP or more in this KVK. So yeah, 1093 did show up. Obviously, I was hoping that I honestly thought the 606 camp would be a major factor in this KVK, but 1093 held off that camp very well, as you can see by the kill points. So yeah, Looks like 2975 did maybe underperform a little in terms of how people expected them to play. But yeah, this is just how it looks like. 1365 performed about similarly to this camp, it looks like. The main difference was, of course, they took a lot more deads. 1365 is very notorious for having a lot of farms, which they fill with. But KP is pretty much similar to the Lamarche camp, which is the 606's camp. Picardy, these are our allies. Honestly, I'll be honest, I'm very impressed by how our allies performed, considering these were basically 3 A seeds. Obviously, the numbers don't look great. Maybe by the individual camps, individual kingdoms, but for people who were watching this KVK or playing in this KVK, I think our allies did their best. They held off 1365. In Kingsland, actually, they were the main reason why we were able to fight 2377, like 1v1. Actually, when our allies were not able to hold back 1365, it did look like at times we were going to lose. So thank you to our G3 allies. They did fight off 1365 in Kingsland, and they did their best. I appreciate what our allies did, not just the G3s, but 1093 for taking down the 606 camp. So this is the individual, like, sort of breakdown by each camp. If we come down here, we can sort of see now by each player. So I'm not going to go through every player, but obviously people know the big players in this KVK, Cyborg and Prodigo. They were basically going band for band, like neck and neck for the top KP in this KVK. What's really crazy is how much their autark's going to look. You can see they have a 1 billion autark now, which is obviously the highest in the game. Prodigal is pretty close to 1.1 billion autark. So yeah, pretty crazy autarks going on here. You can sort of see efficiency. Efficiency is how you traded. If you traded higher efficiency, that means you had better reports. Like you got like this is on average 1-to-1, right? This is 1-to-1. This is like 1.4 to 1, approximately 1.34 to 1. Anything like this basically means you're tanking. If you're below 100%, that means you're tanking. So obviously, it doesn't really matter. KVK is over. Wildline and Mr. Hope can obviously afford to tank, but that's what efficiency looks like. The big power loss obviously came from, as you can see, Wildline and Mr. Hope. They dropped 1.08 billion power. Sorry, 1.08 billion power. This is the number of deads. So they took 108 million deads. I believe the next highest deads was either Yoda, who's now quit, or probably Addy or Makote, I believe. So yeah, crazy amount of deads. This is definitely the highest deads in a single KVK. You can actually see the autark and sort of figure it out from there. But the deads are definitely crazy in this KVK. See, Lion, Hope, and Cyborg was the next highest, and Addy and Prodigo. So yeah, that'll be the highest dead autark, but it looks like Prodigo's coming around with the highest kill autark. Al Haitham is always pretty high up there. Rayo is the guy with the Dark Vader profile picture. Dropped a lot of power as well for his respective power. There's Mod, the Ace. This is 77's Genie. We also have a 60 Genie. Where's our 60 Genie? Probably further down, but 77 Genie looks like they outperformed. This is a very young account, a very, very young account in 2377. Korean player. There's Addy trading almost 1-to-1. A lot of kill points as well. So Korean player we got from 2429. Will. Josh is a player who recently came to GT as well. This is Arvix. I think it's Arvix and someone else. I forget who's another. Oh, so also Arvix X Satan was the original name of this account. Siohuki is another Korean player. Alep is another Korean player. Bo Baruch also came from 2429. Douglas, I'm surprised, is the only 1093 player in the top 20 KP, but he did crazy. I mean, I'm not sure who's on this account in particular, but trading like this is not normal, obviously. Zed is one of our whales as well. There's Blake, Osno. Osno, unfortunately, did not hit 100 billion. I think he's how close is he to 100 billion, but Osno, we were all thinking he might hit 100 billion this KVK. There's still 2 billion to go, unfortunately. But, didn't get there. Ghost Riders from 1093 as well, one of their big whales. There's our 1960 Genie. Itachi has an account in 606 now. For anyone who doesn't know, Itachi is one of the big whales as well. Krakens. I'm not sure why I'm saying whales. Krakens. Don Shanks, the player from the Don group, who also came from 2429 to 2377. Lupe's, Mars, a bunch of other people. Goldfish Kim recently came from 1846. This guy's been spending like crazy since he came to 960. So this is Rolex. He's like one of the main people in GT. CR, Luce God. I'm not going to go through that much, but you can sort of see if you go through all these people, how they sort of got a lot of kill points. I mean, right here, this is all 7 billion, right? We're still at the 7 billion mark and we're in top 50. That's pretty insane. I'm just going to go to where I am. I think I'm around 300. So we're going to skip to my name. I did pretty decent this KVK. I could have done maybe better if I invested more time, but there's only so much time you can spend on this game without going crazy. So you can see I'm right there at 331, 3 billion kill points, around like right under 153 million kills, I believe. 2.23 mil deads. Honestly, not too bad. You can see my heal ratio was a little negative just because I was using T4 on this KVK. I'm not going to discuss too much about my performance this KVK. It's mainly just going to be about, you know, the Kingdom's performance. And there's some very interesting news that came out of 2377 if you haven't heard about it. Now here's one of the Kingdom mails which was sent out by Shark. Shark, if you don't know, is one of the main leaders of 2377. He's also one of the main war leads in 77. He does like a lot of stuff for the Kingdom. Actually, he was one of the main reasons they won Zone 5, as well as put up a very good fort wall in Zone 6. He honestly was one of the main reasons this KVK was so difficult for us. So a lot of respect to Shark. He did a very good job in 2377. Actually, even during like ball fights, I noticed when Shark said he was going to lunch or eat or something like that, 2377's field looked a lot more confused during that time. So mad respect to Shark. It's unfortunate that he's quitting the game, but here's one of his mails. It's a very long mail. As you can see, it's split up into several messages. So we can see the sort of the message here. Blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of important stuff here. This is not the important part, but let's go to the important part. Final KVK. He put his work on hold for 20 days. Honestly, I took a few days off for this KVK, but taking 20 days off for this KVK is extreme. So a lot of respect to him, but I took off like I think 4 days total this KVK, but doing like this is obviously a lot of commitment. So yeah. I'm not going to read the whole thing just because I can't say some things on this video because, you know, Lilith doesn't like that, but you can read through it and say, take away what you can. Oops, sorry. So one thing I noticed that he said was that one important thing he mentioned here was he wants to keep 2377 around 70 to 80 members, which means 2377 might downgrade their kingdom or like become a smaller kingdom, maybe like a B to AC kingdom. I'm not sure exactly what the future is of this kingdom after this KVK. You could say 960 is just the imp killer at this point. After you face 2489 also, 2489 also downsized. Looks like 2377 might also be downsizing at this point. There's no way to know right now, but this mail definitely leaves some things open to discussion. And if anyone was wondering whether Wild Lion and Mr. Hope, the two big Krakens in this kingdom, were going to migrate, it looks like they are going to stay in 2377. I've heard rumors myself that they might be migrating to 3308. Looks like that is not going to happen though. So it's not sure what's going to happen with the fate of 2377 going forward. But obviously Shark's mail leaves a lot open to interpretation. And this is one thing I definitely agree with. 2377 and 1960 have recruited a lot of spenders. It's basically all the spenders are accumulated in like 3 to 4 of the top imps at this point, or Imperium Kingdoms at this point. So I do think that is one of the problems right now, that every spender is basically in one of the top Imperiums. Not every spender, but like the biggest spenders are in the top Imperiums. They need to be more distributed, in my opinion. But it looks like that, yeah, Shark is basically gone. The fate of 2377 is definitely up for discussion, but we'll have to see how this game goes from here. Obviously, 960 has established itself as like the strongest kingdom in the game, so we'll have to see just how it goes from here. But this KVK was pretty fun. I mean, this is obviously like going to be the last big KVK for a while. I think 1960 at some point in the KVK hit 4.7 trillion kill points. So, I mean, we're obviously the strongest kingdom in the game. What kingdom at this point can actually face 1960, right? I would say the only kingdom that can actually face 1960 at this point would be 1093 if they went to 3 alliances again. That's the only thing I can think of. Like I said, 2377 might be downsizing, might get smaller, so I don't think there will be a rematch between 960 and 2377. Most likely, if 960 has to find another opponent going forward, another person to play, it'll be 1093. But I think a lot of players in 960 do not want to face 1093 again, just because it was not a very fun KVK. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens going forward. I have no idea what's going to happen. But at least this KVK was fun. For me personally, this KVK was very taxing, not just resources and speedups wise, but time wise. So I'm not sure if I want to play another KVK of this caliber for quite some time. So I'll have to see what I'm going to do after this KVK. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about my performance in this KVK in this video. It'll be too long. But I did very well. Obviously, for free to play, I could have done better in my opinion, but it's a fun KVK. It's a little sad that if 2377 does become a smaller kingdom, there will be no rematch, most likely. But yeah, KVK's over. Looking forward to what happens next. But next video, we'll be talking about my stats, how I did, my performance, how I prepared, all that good stuff you're going to hear in the next video.